Hey, Rob. It's just weird. Hey, Michael John. Can you still hear the music okay? The Lost Girls. Here we go. Fuck my life. It would be like that. That does look fucking weird. So I'm not doing that tonight. I can't. Luna chose that moment to burst onto the scene. She had found one of the secret doors to the hideout almost immediately and scrambled down, much more elegantly than Wendy. She barked happily, pleased with her entrance and audience. Wow, a wolf, Cubby said in awe. He's so fierce. Skipper sighed. She's mine. Wendy said proudly, going over to pet her, and I am hers. That's incredible. She's beautiful, Slightly said, a little jealous but more impressed. As she ran her hands over the wolf's coat, Wendy saw that with dismay it was covered in burrs and mud. Luna panted, a little lavishly, and leaned extra hard against her human friend. It was obvious she was exhausted. Still, part puppy, she was too young to realize when she had worn herself out. Honestly, Wendy was feeling a little done in as well. Flying was hard work. And so was being kidnapped by pirates. Poor girl. Well, if we must go alone, she said. A little peevishly, she couldn't help it. I think we will require a bit of rest and refreshment here first. The fairy looked outraged and put her hands on her hips. She made a very obvious walking motion with two of her fingers, then pointed to the door. No, we have to keep going. I'm sorry, you might be used to spending most of your day on wing, Wendy said politely, but while it's glorious sport, like nothing out of a dream, well, unlike a dream, it's a bit exhausting. Like all sports, really. And Luna had to run here on foot. She's had it. The fairy frowned at Luna and then tossed her head like she was saying, 5. All right, but only for your wolf, not for you. You heard her, boys. It's tea time, Slightly cried. In a sort of reverse of Snow White's story, the boys ran around gathering what provisions they could, like dwarves, desperately making everything nice for their lady guest. The twins quickly filled a basket with berries and fruit. Cubby found a big bowl of nuts. Slightly blew embers into a lovely little fire and put the kettle on. Where they had gotten the kettle, a highly decorated affair of blue and gold enamel, was a mystery. Toodles somehow managed to carry and set out a stack of mismatched cups wood, bone china, and coconut shell. Skipper brought out a pot of gold and comb honey. While this happy chaos was happening, Wendy took the opportunity to approach the fairy alone, in a very slightly quieter part of the hideout. "Tinkerbell," she ventured, "so that is your name." "Oh, excuse me." The fairy looked at her in surprise, then grudgingly nodded her head. Did you really keep Peter Pan from going to London on purpose?" Tinkerbell looked away, but she didn't disagree. Wendy was torn. More than anything, she wanted this beautiful little fairy to be her friend, to like her back, to initiate her into the sacred world of flowers and fae folk, but she had to know the truth. "Did you really do it because you were jealous of me?" Tinkerbell crossed her arms and scowled at her. She jingled something disdainful. "Of me?" Wendy repeated, indicating her torn dress, her size, her brown hair, her overall very unfairy-like plainness. Tinkerbell nodded, a little less certainly. "Well, I think that's very flattering. Perhaps even the highest compliment I've ever been paid. No matter how backhanded, I thank you." The fairy rolled her eyes when Wendy sighed. She sat down heavily on a barrel. "If we were being completely honest here, and I feel we should be nice, we are companions in this strange adventure, then I should tell you straight. I do like Peter Pan. I used to worship him. In fact, I used to dream about him. I suppose if he had actually come to me, I might have, well, who knows what. He's all I ever cared about, really. Besides Mother and Father and Michael and John and Nana, of course." Tinkerbell had an aha look on her face and wagged an accusing finger at the human girl. "But I never even saw him while I was awake," Tinkerbell, Wendy pointed out. "These thoughts of him were just that, all in my imagination. I am very sorry it upset you to come and listen to my stories, but I was never even aware that you and Peter were there. You had such amazing real adventures with him here in Neverland. All I ever had was his shadow." Tinkerbell blinked. It was obviously an entirely new idea for her. "It was a very naughty thing you did to Peter. Out of jealousy, Tinkerbell, preventing him from getting his own shadow. And what I did was naughty too, trading that shadow to his enemy to come here. Far more naughty, especially since it seems to have resulted in putting all of Neverland in danger. We both have a lot to answer for. Apologies and reparations to make together." The fairy looked outraged at this suggestion of any similarity between them, but then she recovered herself, crossing her arms again. "Go on," she seemed to say. "And look, here we are, talking about Peter while he isn't even here at all, in person or in shadow form," Wendy said with a laugh. "Is he really the king of Neverland? After all, invading our conversations and making everything about himself even when he's not present? Hook can't stop talking about him. The Lost Boys are depressed without him. You are constantly jealous around him. And well, I sold him out when I couldn't have him. It's ridiculous, really. The effect he has on all of our lives. Tinkerbell! The fairy jumped up all of a sudden. Direct address. Wendy was looking at her sternly, full of purpose, shoulders back, and jaw firm. You and I must resolve not to discuss him any longer, at least until everything else is settled and we have properly saved Neverland. Surely the two of us have other things we could talk about that don't involve a boy. Other things that warrant our attention. Pirates flying, the job of getting this shadow back, beating Captain Hook, the adventures we have, our lives, the life of a fairy, the life of a plain human girl. There should be more than enough for many hours of solid conversation. So enough talk about him for now. Are we agreed? The fairy looked at her as if there was a weird thing to ask, and Wendy supposed it was a bit odd. Wasn't Peter the very reason they were thrown together in the first place? But then, as the thought really wound its way through her mind, the fairy relaxed. She looked her head from side to side, as if sloshing the idea around and physically measuring it. Finally, she nodded. She put out her tiny hand, and Wendy grinned, thrilled to have made some headway with the fairy at last. She was very carefully took the tiny hand between her own index finger and thumb and gave it a gentle but solid shake. Excellent. This should make our task much easier as well as our working together. Tinkerbell narrowed her eyes at that. Maybe the idea of actively working together with the human girl, or at least expressing it out loud, was still a bit much, but she didn't jingle or otherwise comment. Whatever their feelings toward each other or Peter were, they had a job to do. The tea was filling, but strange. Wendy could have done with some proper sandwiches, pastries, or crackers, and she had to sneak the questionable day-old rabbit meat to Luna, who snapped it up discreetly and happily. But she appreciatively drank the strange reddish-brown decoration of leaves and twigs the Lost Boys swore was just like proper tea. If you didn't think about it much, at least too much. And in truth, it wasn't bad. It wasn't East India Company Darjeeling. It had a warm, almost cinnamony taste. Luna had a big bowl of fresh, cold water, and Toodles insisted on having his tea the same way, on the floor, after that, and several stale biscuits, plus a little rest and more tummy rubs than any puppy could really ask for, from a hideout full of instantly devoted fans. It was finally time to leave. Outside, the air was as fresh and bracing as Neverland air ever has. A great day for flying. But while the two girls were getting ready to say their goodbyes, Wendy noticed that Skipper kept looking at her, strangely, almost in fascination. Is there something wrong? Wendy asked. Of course, immediately needing to fix whatever problem there was. Nothing, Skipper said, turning away so she couldn't see his face. Wendy wasn't a girl at parties who caused boys to blush. But she had seen it happen with others, like at the spring dance. When John was caught off guard by a hello from Alice Cotswoldington, he had turned red, turned away, and choked on his punch. This wasn't that. Skipper seemed to be blushing. Exactly. And there was as little wonder or fear in his eyes. He grew nervous under her scrutiny. Come on, you can tell me, Wendy prodded. Is it that you actually want to join me in Tinkerbell? Looking for Peter Pan, I mean. She tried to keep the hope out of her voice. No, he cried. He immediately looked down and lowered his voice to his unusual mumble. I don't want to see Peter right now. Maybe not even after he's finished being angry or whatever. Maybe not ever. His voice, it hit Wendy all at once. Skipper's constant staring at her and his reluctance to speak, the especially baggy clothing he wore and soft, almost babyish face he had, despite his height, the obvious desire not to be noticed by the new girl while being unable to take his eyes off of her. Skipper, you're a girl? Wendy exclaimed. The Lost Boys all turned around at her cry. Skipper swallowed, hardened her look. But that was all? Sort of, slightly said with a shrug. What do you mean, sort of? Wendy just demanded. She ain't like you, Cubby said. She's not like me. She's exactly like me. She doesn't wear, one twin began, dresses and ribbons, the other one finished. She doesn't talk like you. Her hair's short. She doesn't feel like a mother. Yes, but all those are just externalities, Wendy protested. She and I have, nothing that could be said aloud in mixed company. How old was Skipper? Old enough to be reminded of these things once a month? Skipper's eyes were tortoise shell, her eyelashes short and black. Wendy found herself imagining the lost boy with long hair in a proper girlish curl down her back, a ribbon around her neck, and a simple but fetching strolling frock, and realized it would have been ridiculous. This girl was perfectly at ease and comfortable in her jacket and animal getup. Anything less freeing would have forced her to stand weirdly or made her look like a clown. But how are you a lost boy? Wendy finally asked, baffled. Always wanted to be one, Skipper answered, voice strong now that she had decided to speak. I saw Peter come and take boys away from the orphanage. Only boys. Everyone knew that. Only boys could become lost boys. So I became a boy. The nurses forgot. They hated me. They hated who I was when I was a girl. They could barely read, so I changed my name in the books. I was a boy. And then, when Peter came, he took me. Everyone was quiet during her little speech, as if it were as natural and acceptable an escape plan as selling Peter's shadow. But why did you want to leave the home? Did they? Wendy leaned in and lowered her voice. Did they hurt you? As a girl? Is that why you wanted to leave? Skipper gave her a look of shock and revolution. No! I just wanted to be free. Like all of us. To not have rules and not brush my teeth and hunt and fish and have fun all day. To never grow up. Ever. Right on, Skipper, Cubby cheered. That's my lost boy. But she's not... Wendy started to correct. Slightly smiled at her confusion. She is a lost boy, he said gently. 100% like all of us. But that's the problem, Skipper said sorrowfully. It's not exactly a boy. All right, Wendy said uncertainly. But if it's always been like this, why are you worried about it now? Skipper shrugged, but looked a little desperate. Peter don't know. Not really. And Peter wants to kick slightly out because he wants new things. Peter's always talking about silly girls, stupid girls. There are so many, all over Neverland. And you in London, and I guess Tink says he likes you, but you're not like him, you know? Wendy considered this. True, Peter would never ask someone like Wendy to be a lost boy. He never did. In fact, what would happen if he suddenly popped up in his crew? I see your point, she said slowly. I think, however, we can all get this straightened out. No need to worry about it right now. We'll find Peter, retrieve his shadow, beat the pirates, have him make up with Slightly, and then deal with you, however you wish. All right, but we'll wait until things are a bit calmer and he can see things with a clearer head. Skipper nodded. A little unhappily, but she had the look of a child who had just cried and is in the feeling calm and being multiplied stage. Tears had been sniffled away. Wendy wondered if the girl had ever cried in her strange, short life. At least in front of other people. She couldn't stop herself from asking, from leaning in and whispering. Don't you find it a little bothersome to be with these wild boys all the time? For an answer, Skipper opened her mouth and let out a terribly loud burp. Excuse me. Nice one, Skip Slightly said, touching his hat and bowing to her. The rest of the lost boys cackled and laughed and cheered and tried to follow suit, with considerably less success. Well, Wendy said, trying not to appear flustered or embarrassed. I suppose that answers that. Mermaid Lagoon is that way. When the two of you are ready, Slightly said, pointing to the southeast, how you will go. There's a path east and southbound beyond the Tonal Springs, or you'll be trying to sail across the bay of Skull Island. Neither, Wendy said politely, and perhaps just a little smugly we'll be taking the either. And with that, she neatly rose up off her toes and a few feet into the air. The lost boys cheered, crowded, and gawked at that. Tink, you gave an outsider fairy dust, Slightly called in mock outrage. My, how far down in the world we have come. Tinkerbell stuck her tongue out at him. Slightly made a very inappropriate rude gesture back at her that Wendy had only seen thugs and urchins use. But he was laughing. The fairy tossed her head back deviously. Wendy wondered about their interactions. Tinkerbell had had her own room in the Lost Boys' hangout. Yet she seemed to treat them as meanly, or at least indifferently, as she did everyone else. For their part, the Lost Boys seemed to not care what she thought, or they simply accepted that it was just part of her touchy personality. Maybe it's not just me, Wendy thought. Maybe the fairy was naturally prickly and bad-tempered to everyone. But she doubted if Tinkerbell had ever physically attacked a lost boy the way she had assaulted her back at the clearing with the crystal creature, and she couldn't imagine Skipper acting that way. Wendy had, stepping away and apologizing. The lost boy probably would have cracked Tinkerbell across the plate for such behavior. Luna yawned, turning herself around several times. Excuse me. Before sitting down heavily next to Toodles. The little boy laughed and rubbed his face into her fur. The wolf looked wearily up at Wendy. Are we really taking off again so soon? Just look at what a lovely group of playmates we have here. I could use a nap, too. Can we? Keep her? The twins begged immediately. Just for now. She's so tired. Nobody can keep her, Wendy said. She's her own person. And yet, in so much as Luna was anyone's, she was Wendy's. She was Wendy's dream dog, the perfect companion for adventures in Neverland. But was she a pet? Perhaps something created in Neverland was never really a Londoner's to begin with, and the wolf really was just a puppy. A very large, very tired-looking one at that. Tinkerbell, Wendy said, as casually as she could, relishing the use of the fairy's name and the intimacy it brought. What do you think about Luna? Perhaps she is looking a little exhausted? Tinkerbell considered the wolf, then nodded slowly. She pointed at the Lost Boys and shrugged. What better place for a puppy to stay? All right, then. Goodbye for now, Wendy said, dipping down to give Luna a big hug around her neck and shoulders. The wolf licked her all over. And then the girl sighed and rose into the air. Tinkerbell followed, a few feet away. Of course. At least Wendy thought. We two have just had our first completely neutral conversation. No anger. No cremations. No insult jingles. It is certainly a step. She waved at the Lost Boys. It was lovely meeting all of you. See you. Send us a signal as soon as you've sorted stuff out with Peter, Slightly called. The Lost Boys leapt and captured and yelled after them. Toodles! And the twins broke into a wild twirling circle dance. Skipper gave a shy wave with a half smile. Cubby howled like a wolf rather than the bear he thought he was. Luna joined in, a great doggy smile on her muzzle. It was a charming scene, and Wendy dearly hoped that would not be the last she would see of her beloved wolf. Thank you, Nixie. Jesus Christ. Yeah, nope. Since everyone was like MIA tonight. Who's all still here? Chris, Rodeo Rooster, Stoner! I didn't see you sneak in, beautiful. How are you? I didn't see you sneak in. Chris, thank you for the gifts. Mayhem, thank you for the gifts. Yeah, I see that, Slacker. I see that, Slacker. Did you guys like me doing it on here better? I literally sat here for 30 minutes with maybe 1 or 2 people in here. That's how great I felt tonight. Just getting by, baby girl. How's the baby? Chris, thank you for the rose. Brent, Carl, good evening. I almost just canceled my live and said, fuck it. I know you did, Nixie. You were in Discord. Ellen, Allen, good evening. Aw, good night, gorgeous. I have like 2 minutes before I can end it. Ronan, good evening. I did. I almost just went ahead and said fuck it tonight. Middle of the night, Joel Sunny. That's who that one is. Rut291, good evening. Surfing to B20. Thank you for the follow. Let's go. Wolfman, I thought you were going that night. Creative Stove, good evening. Welcome. You know your violin music, Nixie. Hey, Christy. Yep, I've got like another minute before I can end it, and then I'm gonna top off and yeah, and then call it a night. Surfing 2.0 team, Michelle, welcome back. But the words were in my head and sounded familiar. Got it. Do you guys like me doing the setup this way for me to do the bedtime stories? Is this more appeasing or more appealing? Boss Bratty Cast, you missed bedtime story, beautiful. But I promise I will have it up soon. Raymond Parker, good evening. Okay. I just gotta stick with it. I know, and my lighting was dark tonight, but I didn't really... that's what I was going for. Thank you. Hey, Wiley. Thank you for the rose, handsome. All I did was let my hair down, but thank you. Allie Star, MC Bang, good evening. That's all I did was let my hair down tonight. I'm just here. I just me. I just me. The dark night. Good evening. Thank you for the heart, me. I'm surprised that it took you all day. A slacker. Dino, welcome. I think what I'll do is in this space over here. Well, you can't see what I'm pointing at. You can't see it on your screen. But in the open space to the right, I think I'll just have the cover of the book here. Next time, Tommy T, good evening. How did Rooster get the #1 gifter badge? What did I just miss? Odin, welcome back. Playing RDR tonight. What's RDR? Playing. Can you not type tonight? Oh, okay. Emma Pretty, good evening. Alright, you guys, it's my 1 hour mark. I hope you all have an amazing week. Hopefully everybody's week turns around. I hope everyone has a safe Memorial Day. If you're going to go out tomorrow, make sure you stay safe. Don't drink and drive. Remember what tomorrow's truly for at the end of the day. Think of those around you when you act tomorrow. More importantly, have fun and love your loved ones because tomorrow's never promised. Good night.